So, when talking to parents, especially the parents of spirited children, I like to show them a cartoon that I've kept a hold of for years. It depicts two men meeting each other for the very first time, and both men look like they've gone 12 rounds with a grizzly bear and they've lost really badly. Their hair is disheveled, the clothing's torn, and they have similar expressions on their weary faces. And behind them, written on the blackboard, are the words parent teacher night. One of the men is introducing himself as the caption reads, "You must be Timmy's dad. I'm Timmy's teacher." And when people see this cartoon, they always respond the same way. They laugh very hard. They get it. But there's more to it than just the obvious joke. It's really clear from the cartoon that both of these men share a similar problem named Timmy. And what's less clear is if they understand that they both, plus Timmy, his mother, and other concerned adults, share a common goal. And that's to help Timmy survive and thrive in the kind of society in which he's living. And right now, they're not succeeding in that goal. But if they can find a way to cooperate with each other, their chances for turning things around are excellent. And so the purpose of this lesson is to help you build on the skills that you've already been learning in this course and having the specific goal of helping your child succeed in school. And yeah, sure, we all know the stories of successful men and women who've done well in life in spite of doing poorly in school. And they've gotten it together. They've beaten the odds and they deserve to be congratulated. But the problem is that so many others don't. And without a good education, they find that the deck is stacked against them. And they may still survive in spite of this, but it's unlikely that they're ever going to really thrive. And that, by the way, is as true for children of financially well-off families as well as the children of the poorer families. So active parents take education seriously. They understand that it's about more than just grades. It's about developing an appetite for learning. When a child's curiosity is sparked, when she gets real learning or real pleasure from discovering something that she didn't know, or reading some poetry that moves them emotionally, or experiencing the joy of that aha moment when it all just kind of comes together and they get it, or creating something with their own hands and mind that never existed before. That child has a good chance of becoming a lifelong learner. They have a good chance of thriving. And there's a lot of different things you can do to help that special process happen. So we're going to talk about 7 of them here. So there are a lot of different things that contribute to a child's success in school. And there have been lots of studies done to determine which are the most important. And they've considered a lot of different factors like the quality of the teachers, the school leadership, other staff, school facilities, the curriculum, the education level of the children's parents, the income of the child's family, and the parents' involvement in the children's learning. And the factor that over 200 studies have labeled as the most important is the parents' involvement in the child's learning. And when parents get involved, both at home and at school, these studies show that their child is more likely to get better grades, do better on standardized tests, have higher attendance rates, graduate and go on to college, be involved in extracurricular activities, and have higher self-esteem and better behavior. And parent involvement means a lot of things. But first, it just means showing up at school and showing your support. Make a point to be there for the parent-teacher night and the conferences with your child's teacher. Look for opportunities to volunteer. Get to know other parents. Be there for school plays and other special activities when you can. Take an active parenting course. Who knows? You may find that you go beyond just being involved. You may actually become engaged in your child's learning. You might find yourself on committees that help move your school forward and otherwise contribute to the overall growth and development of the entire school community. But regardless of, whether you have a good school experience as a child or you hated every minute of it, your support now matters. You matter. And most quality schools, or schools that want to become quality schools, want you there, involved and engaged as your time allows. The second smart thing is to get to know your child's teachers and encourage them. Everybody needs encouragement, and teachers are no exception. In fact, they could probably use a little extra encouragement and will appreciate it. There's also some benefits to encouraging your child's teacher. So first, when a child feels supported by the student's parents, they're going to feel better about themselves, their job, their mission to help educate students. And that makes them a better teacher for your kids. And then second, people tend to feel more positive towards those who make them feel good about themselves. Encouragement does that. When you establish a positive relationship with your child's teacher, they're naturally going to be a little bit more sensitive to your child's needs. So make a point of getting to know your child's teacher. That in and of itself is encouraging. And when you take an interest in others, you're recognizing their significance and showing that you value them. Take the opportunity at open houses and parent-teacher meetings to ask them about themselves before jumping into the academics. Remember that teachers are people like you, and they like to share with people that they find supportive and just genuinely interested in them. So be one of those people, and you're going to find that everybody comes out ahead. Some other ways that you can encourage your child's teacher is going to include to let them know what you appreciate about them. So for example, hey, I really appreciate how hard you work to make school interesting for the students. I wish you had been my second grade teacher. Or thanks for letting Ben do his comedy routine for 5 minutes at the end of class last week. That was so nice of you. He really loved it. Or you can let them know that you value what they do. So for example, hey, I think it's great that you're a teacher and we need more teachers like you who really care about the kids and who they become. You can show confidence in them. So say something like, I'm not sure how we can solve this problem right now, but I know that between us, we will come up with something good for Carl. Or I have a feeling this is really going to be a great year. Or you can write them a letter or an email of encouragement. So for example, Dear Betty, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for all your help that you've given Michael this year. He's been learning so much, and I know how much time and effort you've put into the class. Maybe more important, you have a special way of nurturing the kids. And thanks to you, they're not only becoming better students, but better people as well. Thanks so much. So maybe you're not as, crazy about your teacher as this person was about Miss Betty, but you're still going to find positive things to write or say. Just be truthful, specific, and sincere. And the third thing that we can do is make learning a family priority. School success is about a lot more than just what goes on at school. It begins with the atmosphere you develop in your home about learning. It continues when your family is out in the community, and then it carries over into the classrooms and the school building itself. Making sure your kids know that learning is a priority in your family will not only foster an attitude that helps them do better in school, it's going to help them to do better in life too. After all, we live in a society that's just changing so rapidly that it's likely your children are going to need to continue learning their entire lives just to keep up. Teaching them that learning is an important and enriching part of everyday life is going to help them do that and get more out of it. So there's a lot of ways that we can make learning a priority in our family. So first, we can model the importance of learning throughout our lives by taking courses, reading nonfiction, as well as pleasure, using the internet, television, and other media to learn and discover, also for your pleasure, and encouraging your children to take part when you can. We can also take turns bringing up interesting articles or news items to the dinner table and have a family discussion about it. Rose Kennedy used to do that with her family every evening at dinner, and she raised a U.S. president and 3 senators. Take your children to museums, historical landmarks, libraries, and other places where learning will occur naturally. And then we can look for ways to make it fun and interesting. We can also find ways to combine learning with entertainment and recreational activities. So, for example, teach your kids how to check movie reviews online before choosing a movie to watch, or go online afterwards to learn more about something from the movie. So take a hike as a family and ask the kids to find the most unusual thing that they can in nature. Go to a ball game and then go online and see if the players and team did better or worse than their averages. You can develop a work before play philosophy in your family. So in other words, when there is a conflict between schoolwork or chores and doing something fun, schoolwork is the first priority. Exceptions can be made here, but the key is the attitude that work is vitally important, not just because the parents demand it, but because the culture demands it. We can also limit TV watching and other screen time for everybody in the family, especially during that homework time. We can play games together, look for creative ways to have fun, compliment your kids on how they use their minds more than their ability to play a sport, look good, or be popular. A mother of a very successful woman who also happened to be very beautiful once attributed her success to the fact that when she was a child and somebody would tell her mother how pretty she was, her mother also always nodded and said, "Smart as a whip," to the compliment. The fourth thing we can do is structure homework time. Kids like homework about as much as they like teachers, the teachers like grading the test, which is to say, not much. It's just part of the job. And successful students and good teachers manage to get it done and done well. So there's been a lot of controversy surrounding homework recently, and a lot of different schools are taking a second look at how much and what kind of homework they require. Some research even suggests that, students or the homework itself may, be of limited benefit for elementary school kids and only really pays off in high school. Others suggest that practice assignments improve scores on class tests and at all grade levels, and that just a little bit of homework may help elementary school students build good study habits. One standard that many districts are turning to is the 10-minute rule, created by the Duke University psychology professor Harris Cooper. The rule endorsed by the National PTA and the National Education Association says kids should get 10 minutes of homework at night per grade. A first grader would have 10 minutes of homework each night. A fifth grader would have 50 minutes. So there's some suggestions that where we can get the most out of the homework and do better at school. So the first one is to help your child set up a regular work area. The dictator and the doormat parents get it partly right. Dictators recognize that children need their parents to participate in their educations, but these parents go too far and become over-involved. Doormats recognize that school is a child's job, and to do it well, the children need the freedom to make the choices and mistakes along the way. But these parents back off too far and don't show enough support. Active parents allow freedom within limits, knowing when to step in and help and when to back off and just support. They focus their attention on helping their child choose a regular work area where they can develop a good homework habit. Making it regular is going to help cue the child that it's time to work, not play. Whether it's a desk in their room, their bed for reading, not writing or typing, or the kitchen table, doesn't matter as long as it's quiet. Kids have their own preferences about studying, and that's okay, as long as they're able to concentrate and get the work done. Some prefer background music, others like quiet. It doesn't really seem to matter, with the exception of TV or loud distracting music, both of which have been found to interfere with concentration. The second thing is to agree on a regular study time. So applying our active parenting theme of freedom within limits, we want to help our children to develop a good homework habit by choosing a regular time for study. Some kids may prefer to get it done right after they get home from school, while others may want to take time to play and relax before diving into more schoolwork. The key is to make the time as regular as possible. And we know that flexibility is going to be called for when the special events interfere. But just keep in mind that your child's energy needs what they are, and don't make homework time run into bedtime if your child is getting tired late in the day. I also recommend that you continue to work before the work before play philosophy when it comes to watching TV or other entertainment. If your child wants a break from school before doing homework, that's a good time for physical activity or creative play, not just vegging out. If you have more than one child of homework age, try to schedule the homework for the same time for everybody if possible. And that's going to help create a positive homework atmosphere and fewer distractions. And you also want to talk with your child's teacher or ask at parent-teacher night about how much time to allow for homework. Schedule this amount of time on a regular basis. Whether or not they have homework on a given night, on those nights they can use the study time on school-related activities. And that policy is going to help them from rushing through the homework and help build up that homework habit. And if your child often needs extra time to finish, use your active communication skills from lesson 2 to talk to your child about the problem. If you can't solve the problem together, then let the teacher know. And the third one is to make it quiet learning time for all family members. So one way to reinforce how much you value school success is to make sure that the house is reasonably quiet during homework time. When the TV's blaring or others are making lots of noise, it can be a real distraction for some children. So have a short family meeting in order for everybody to agree on the quiet time or the learning time for the entire family. And that's a great time for parents to model the importance of learning by reading a quiet book or an article or engaging in some other quiet learning activity. Then we want to develop a homework to-do list. One of the most powerful time management tools ever invented is the to-do list. The simple process of just writing down assignments and then checking them off as they're completed is going to help your child succeed at school and in other dozens of situations. So talk with your child about how they want to do this. If they want to write it in a notebook, use an electronic device, whatever. And then check to encourage their progress in following through with it. The key is to be consistent. Again, this develops a good habit. Plus, writing it down takes the pressure off of memory. Not only does this reduce anxiety about something falling through the cracks, but the process of checking off the items as you're completing them is a great encouragement for doing the homework. The fifth thing is to read and talk with your child. You may have heard that reading aloud to your child is the best way to improve their reading skills, and that's true. You may have also heard that reading skills are the best predictor of current and future school success. That's also true. But did you know that reading skills are also the best predictor of algebra skills and success in college? How about that they're the best predictor of future career success and earning power? Research supports that as well. Reading is the key to learning almost anything, and our schools are heavily geared towards rewarding good readers. And clearly one of the best things that you can do to improve your child's chances of surviving and thriving in our communication-based society is to read to your child and encourage them in conversation. When you read aloud to your child, all types of good things happen. When children feel free to simply listen to stories, they can focus on the plot, the language patterns, and new vocabulary words more completely than they can when they're focusing on figuring out the words themselves. Reading aloud to children also exposes them to more complex books that they can read independently and encouraging them to want to become better readers. And it's also a wonderful bonding activity. As you're cuddling together to explore new worlds of mystery and suspense, you're opening up the doors to spark the curiosity and the thoughtfulness that are the essence of learning. So keep in mind these keys to building a strong reading foundation. First, we want to read aloud to your child every day. So start that daily habit as soon as your child's eyes can focus on the pictures, or earlier if you like. As kids get older, they can read to you, or you can pick books that are too advanced for them and read them aloud or listen to the audiobook together. A good goal is to read together 20 minutes daily. And demonstrate that reading can be fun. Improving your child's reading skills is one goal of reading together. Another goal is to help your child become a lifelong reader. It's a habit that's going to pay off in better grades, better jobs, a richer life. And so to accomplish this, begin by finding reading material that's interesting to your child, not you. Then make reading time fun. Laugh together, make jokes, cuddle, share the emotions of the book together. Go to the library and pick out books together, or go online and download them. Whatever works for you and your budget, that's fine. And then just let your child catch you reading for pleasure on your own. And that models that reading is not only schoolwork, but also everyday fun. And you also want to pause in your reading to share or ask questions. So you can share what you think about a character or an event in the story. And you can explain the ideas, the pictures, the questions, and connections that go through your mind as you're reading. So, for example, if you read the sentence, "The black stallion was the most beautiful horse she had ever seen," you might pause there and talk about the picture of the horse that you have in your mind, or describe a beautiful horse that you once saw or rode, and then ask your child to share the picture or memory, the words created in their mind. And that helps to develop analytical thinking skills and reading comprehension. And it teaches how a good reader interacts with a book. So we can reinforce memory by asking your child what happened in the last segment that you read together, or encourage observation by asking who, what, where, when questions during the story or at the end of the short story. And we can also help the child learn to think ahead by asking them to predict what might happen next. And they can develop language skills by us asking the meaning of unusual words and discussing them or looking them up together. And ask why they think the author had the character do what they did. And build self-esteem and love for learning by offering encouragement when your child does answer the questions. We can also encourage language development by talking and listening to each other. So closely related to the reading to your child is just the simple art of conversation. Most families spend too much time watching others talk on TV, movies, the internet, and other media outlets, and not really enough time practicing this age-old skill themselves. So use the time driving places, mealtime, waiting for the food to come out in a restaurant, and other opportunities to talk about whatever topics your child shows an interest in, including the book that you're currently reading. So a few ideas may help you engage your child. We can ask open-ended questions instead of yes or no questions, like what did you like about school today? Or who did something funny today? What happened? What did you think about when you were thinking about nothing? You can share about something that happened in the news and ask your child what they think about it. Or make up stories all together, taking turns adding parts. So the 21st century world that our child is living in and is going to work in will place less value on reciting facts and more on thinking and communicating and problem solving, cooperating in teams, and also applying concepts in meaningful ways. And of course, knowing factual information is still going to be important, but with computers and search engines able to sift through vast amounts of information at incredible speeds, the human's job is going to be to use that information creatively, think critically, stay motivated. Schools are adapting to these changes, and parents can help by coaching their kids along those lines. And although you may not be a teacher, you can still help your child in school through positive coaching. So be available. Don't do it for them, but just offer support and guidance if they need it. Offer encouragement, not criticism. Find something positive to say before pointing out any errors. Never, ever, ever attack the child's personality. Focus on effort instead of grades. The grades will come. You don't have to be an expert to help. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know. And don't expect perfection. The goal here is improvement, not perfection. We want progress, right? Focus your attention on helping your child improve step by step. And eventually they're going to succeed. And focus your attention. If we focus the attention on perfection, then they're eventually going to say ugly things about you to a therapist. Then we can turn the thinking over to the child. We definitely don't want to fall into the trap of doing the work for the child. Let them struggle a little bit for the answer and enjoy the success of getting it themselves. And then enjoy, make learning enjoyable by smiling, laughing, basking in each other's company, and if all else fails, bake cookies. So here are some internet guidelines for your family. You could write them up and put them somewhere so everybody can see, but it might say something like, for our own safety and the safety of other family members, we agree to these guidelines. We will not tell anyone, including friends, our computer passwords. We will not use bad language or send cruel, threatening, or untrue emails or text messages. We will not give out personal information to anyone we don't know in real life. This includes our own name, family members' names, home address, phone number, age, or school info, such as your school's name, mascot, colors, etc. We will not arrange to meet a stranger that we have talked with online, and we will not post or email pictures or videos of ourselves that we would not want our parents, boss, or other people now or in the future to see. And then the seventh thing is to support your school's discipline plan. Imagine how frustrating and chaotic it would be to play a game like basketball or soccer without having rules and people to enforce those rules. Organizations need rules too. And whether it's a small family or a large corporation or even a country, without rules, conflicts get worse rather than better until the entire system breaks. And schools are no different. Without a clear set of rules to help students know what's expected, they can't succeed. And without knowing those rules and being willing to follow them, your child cannot succeed. So the seventh smart thing to do for school success is to make sure everyone in the family knows the rules and supports them. In the best case, the school's rules and the family's rules are similar. But even when you disagree with a school rule or part of the overall discipline plan, it's smart to teach your children to follow it anyway, and perhaps work within the system to change it. Get a copy of the school's discipline plan and have a family talk to review it and discuss it. So it's particularly important to discuss the rules regarding violence, including bullying, and the use of tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs. In fact, it's a good idea to have a family talk about those topics. So there's one family had this dialogue. So think about different ways that you can handle that talk and what you can do to handle both alcohol and drugs and smoking cigarettes when you have that talk in your own family. So you may call the talk. The family talk is a type of meeting that serves to help children handle upcoming challenges with knowledge and courage and integrity. And among those challenges, the risk of our kids using tobacco or alcohol or other drugs is high on everybody's list. So talking about that with like the tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs with our kids, when we talk about it early, it can really help lay a good foundation for later when your child's tempted to try them. So we want to find out what the child's school policy is about this and include it in your family talk. So there's 4 simple guidelines that'll help you make the most of your family talk. And one is plan your introduction and the key points that you want to cover. It's a good idea to plan a simple opening statement and just introduce the topic. And then the second guideline is to use open-ended questions to stimulate discussion. So the family talk is meant to be a discussion, not a lecture. So it's important that you ask good questions and use active communication to listen and respond to your children's answers. And when we encourage the child's participation, we're showing that we're respecting them and wanting to hear their ideas. And that makes it much more likely that the message is going to get through to them. But we also have to make sure to follow the third family talk guideline, which is to avoid communication blocks. That means not criticizing, judging, preaching, or otherwise saying or doing something that's going to shut down the conversation. And when we allow our children to express their own thoughts, it shows the child that we value open communication. And that helps to set the stage for the fourth guideline, of sharing our values persuasively. So we can just continue to ask questions and practice what the child might do in tough situations, but we have to be careful not to let the conversation go on too long. We don't feel like we have to provide all the information ourselves either. The fifth guideline here is to find support materials. So by using articles and videos and the internet, you can provide more information in an interesting way. And then you're going to want to follow up on any of the materials you use with a little bit more discussion later on. So the 5 guidelines, just to recap: plan your introduction, and the key points. Use open-ended questions to stimulate the discussion, avoid the communication blocks, share your values persuasively, and find support materials. But what should you do if your child is breaking a rule and you get called in to discuss the problem at school? So, no parent wants to get that call, but sometimes kids make poor decisions at school, and sometimes they do it at home and other places. And if you're notified about these types of problems, or even asked to come in to discuss that situation, there's some things that we can do to help. First, stay calm. Getting angry at our child or at the school is likely to make the problem worse, not better. We want to treat it like any other parenting problem, using the problem-solving model and skills that you've been learning. Use active communication to talk to your child about what happened and how they felt and how to handle the problem. And use it as a learning opportunity for your child. Help them to understand what they did wrong. And of course, we want to add a logical consequence of our own to the school's discipline that might be a good part of the lesson. So like if the school calls you for a suspension, find some meaningful work for your child to do while serving that suspension, while also foregoing video games and other fun activities. We don't want to, encourage them to keep it up. And then, lastly, avoid that temptation to rescue your child from the consequence of their actions, or to blame the school or otherwise undermine the learning opportunity. If you and your child genuinely feel that he's being treated unfairly, then work to appeal the discipline through the proper channels. And when we put these 7 things into action in our family, and we're sending a loud message and a clear message to our children that education is important, and that you care how they do in school, and that you want to help. Kids who get that message are going to have a leg up, not only in school, but also at work, in their relationships, and throughout their lives.